All right, let's do a quick little review of relationships in nature. And what we call these are symbiotic relationships. A lot of the times it's not necessarily an animal and another animal having a relationship. We're going to see it's also an animal and a plant species as well. So it's essentially, the difference between these. We're going to start off with competition. That one's pretty easy. It can usually happen, again, between members of the same species. In this case, the squirrel or the hyena is fighting over food. But we also see competition with another species in this picture where you have a lion as well. Another example of competition would be two members of the same species, in this case, the male deer fighting over one female. Predation is pretty self-explanatory as well. Here we have the owl as the predator eating the mouse. Predation involves one animal eating another animal. Mutualism is quite interesting because you have these relationships where both organisms are benefiting. In the case of the sea anemone and the clownfish, the sea anemone has these stinging tentacles that if anything comes by, they'll get stung, and the goal of the sea anemone is to eat the fish. Whereas the clownfish here, they're actually immune to those stinging tentacles. So you see this, both organisms are benefiting as a result of the clownfish gets protection, but then the sea anemone gets food because the clownfish act as little lures. Other predator fish will see the clownfish, they'll swim by, and the sea anemone will have a nice meal. Another example is the honeybee and flowers. The bees are pollinators. They'll go from flower to flower, acting as a vessel to drop that pollen off, and in return, the bee gets this sweet nectar to bring back to its hive. Commensalism, you have one organism that's benefiting, the other one, it doesn't really matter. In this case, you have these barnacles that are getting on the whale's fin. They're getting a free ride and they're getting food. Again, doesn't really hurt or harm or benefit the whale. And this case as well, you have the spider web. Again, free ride. You can assume there's flies around this gazelle. They're making use of the gazelle's horns, whereas again, the gazelle is neither harmed nor benefited. Then you have parasitism. Here we have one animal is benefiting and one is being harmed. So we've heard of parasites. These are usually diseases. Here you have a tick on the right. Again, and what's going to happen in a parasite, there's always going to be the host. We can see here, this is a tick in its normal size, but as they attach themselves here, you can have it's attached to a dog. It's just sucking the blood from the dog, and the dog is considered the host and the tick the parasite. So those are your types of symbiotic relationships. Make sure you know them. Here's kind of a little emoji to give you an idea of maybe help how to tell the difference between each one. And again, I hope that helps.